All right, before I forget, someone said ask about the hat because you wear the same hat. What's the story behind the hat? Is there one?
There's not really a great story. It was just a gift from my sister-in-law, and, when we grew up she was actually a skater for a while too, actually, but, she grew up as a neighbor, was one of our neighbors for, like, 12 years before she ended up marrying my brother, and so that's just kinda been my lucky skating hat, and it's the one that I wear every time I go skating.
I got you. Um, how's the? Sorry, I'm asking. There's someone mentioned that you're a little bit quiet. I have you maxed out on my side. Quiet. I don't want you to have to adjust anything if we don't have to. So how's the I forget what you call it specifically, but the indoor park you're building. Do you have any footage? Do you have any teasers? How's that going?
I've got a bunch of footage. I'm filming more every time I'm out there. We just got the rest of the quarter pipe built along the one wall. It's pretty much ready to go. Had a couple friends out yesterday for the first official session. Still a few other things that need to get done. The official name that I've given it, I've just been calling it the headquarters.
I like it. I like it, man. That's super exciting. So, let me see. I just wanted to kind of blast through because chat had a few questions for you, and I wanted to make the most of your time here. Corey has a big question here. He says, ask him about cab and half cab because we know like cab and half cabs is from Steve Caballero, the skateboarder. What's your opinion on using cab and half cab in rollerblading?
All right, so I use them all the time. I think one of the things that maybe is regional based on people's upbringing and how long they've been skating and where they're at is for me a half cab is exclusively like a fakie approach if you're spinning into a trick. And same with a full cab. I almost never hear a trick referred to like a forward 360 as a cab,
Hmm.
only like fakie.
Right.
So if you do like full cab Trumizu or full cab alley oop soul or something like that, I'm fine with them being used. That's just part of the lingo that I've adopted over the 20 some years that I've skated. So that's my position. I know it's not there for everyone, and we don't have to open up the whole alley-oop unity and front Savannah debate.
Yeah. Well, let's not do that. It's Sunday. We don't need people raging too hard on us. What do you think about the word hubba? Do you use the word hubba?
I've heard it used. I'm sure I've used it at some point or another. For me, it's just down ledge.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't use the word. To me personally, we have admittedly rollerblading has a lot of kind of silly sounding trick names, but for some reason to me like the word hubba, like I feel silly when I say it, so I don't use it very often. So, are you able? Manuel asks, are you what's the next rolling reaction project? I actually mentioned this before you jumped on. It sound someone I think Tree mentioned you have a quite a few of those usually lined up that you like kind of put out, but can you share with us the next one or is it a secret?
No, I mean, it's not a secret. I keep a Google Doc of where I have like a bunch of different ones and like which profiles I want to feature and just kind of a running list of all of the different profiles that are coming out. There's not really necessarily a rhyme or reason to which one I decide to do on any given time. It's just whatever flavor I'm feeling like that week. I'm probably going to do one for Ben Weiss, I think,
Mm,
given the tragic news of his passing, and he was a legend here in Minnesota. And I tried to do one for him years back. One of my favorite sections is his con artist section in, I think it was in Children of the Con. Maybe it's Urban Playground actually, but the music on that one was blocked by YouTube, so it's intermittent. Every once in a while, YouTube will allow it out there publicly, and then it'll like block it again.
right.
So there's some other great Ben Weiss sections out there too, and he was just a showman. So I'll probably cover him next, I think.
I like that. That's awesome, man. Yeah, we actually watched your Ben Weiss rolling reactions. I think it was a rolling reactions. Yesterday we were doing a big kind of Ben Weiss-a-thon in his honor. And if you aren't aware yet, because I am going to chop this up and this will be its own little interview thing that I'll post up on YouTube as long as that's okay with you, Butch.
Yeah, that's
Um,
totally fine.
but yeah, unfortunately, I think it was 2 days ago. Ben Weiss passed away, one of the rolling legends. So big condolences to his family and loved ones. But Clark Kirkman says, ask Butch why you two haven't come to the compound yet. Dude, we were talking about trying to do like a big compound trip. Would you at all be able to do that, do you think?
Timing is everything for it,
Yeah.
and there's like no place on earth I would rather go than the compound. We talk about it here all the time. Like we need to make the road trip. It's such a far drive, and I think that's the way to go is make it into a road trip.
Yeah.
And a lot of those events, like the ramp and camp ones, are always in the spring and the fall at times when I cannot miss school, especially the last few years when substitute shortage has been crazy and with the uh it's just not worked time wise, which is unfortunate because as a teacher, I get 3 months off in the summer where incredible flexibility in
Yeah.
terms of travel, but we need to make it happen. I think we need to have a big compound session.
I think it'd be super fun. Super fun. I was talking yesterday how if we played Blade, like I think you are I think you are seriously underrated in terms of like just your incredibly deep bag of tricks and how well you can execute them. But I think it would be fun. I think I've mentioned this before in a couple of videos recently or whatever. But like I think people want more, Blade content, Blade battle content. So I think you'd walk all over me, but I think it would be fun to do a little game of Blade at the compound if we had the opportunity.
I think you're giving me way too much credit here, first of all. But one of the things people don't see from videos that I produce is the lack of consistency. When you're filming and you're picking out all the clips, I'm one of those people that's notorious for saying, just one more try at this. And I don't like to walk away from a trick after I've already invested some blood into it. So my friends can tell you that and they can attest to that like for some of them, they're like 3 tries max, clip attained. For me, it's like 30, 50, 100.
I
Just the
feel
way
you,
it
bro.
is.
I feel you. I did a little goofy Chris Haffey video. Yesterday, 2 days ago. Where I tried 153 times and failed, bro. Never got it.
You know,
but I go ahead.
oh, it's Thomas Edison that said like he didn't fail at inventing the light bulb. He just didn't succeed those 150 times or whatever that they were
Right,
steps along the
right,
process.
yeah. I found 10,000 ways that didn't, or 10,000 ways to not. Yeah, whatever. I'm butchering it.
Yeah.
No pun intended here. Damn, I was gonna say something. Oh, I was gonna just speak to your point where I think a lot of people think sometimes that like I might be a little bit better than I actually am because, like, to your point, like you kind of see the finished product, and it can sometimes give the impression that the tricks happen a little bit easier than sometimes they do. So
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And we all have like our own unique safety tricks too that are inexplicably easy when they might be difficult for somebody else. I see Tree commented and like everything is easy for him, so
yeah,
he's got his own set of physics that don't apply to the rest of us
yeah.
mortals.
I could be wrong. I remember your video, but was it True Spin Acid that gives you some trouble? I'm just trying to keep my notes here for when we play Blade. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, True Spin Acid is the most difficult of the True Spin tricks for me.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
know a lot of people are like really terrified by True Fish, and that is one of the safest tricks in my vocabulary.
yeah. We're polar opposites because True Acid to me is like borderline safety trick. Not on handrails or anything, but like, yeah.
Just not on anything.
True Fish to me is terrifying. It's like a death sentence. Manuel says, "Is Butch still on that ancient liner?" Oh no, yeah, because I remember that video. Is Butch still on that ancient liner? I saw one of his videos.
Yeah, those liners got retired after the 13 years that I was skating them, and I hate breaking in new liners.
Right.
Absolute worst thing. So the current pair are a pair of rain liners that have been going on 3 years, so they're starting to deteriorate, but I think they'll at least last for the rest of my skating lifetime.
Yeah. Nice, dude. Um, rain liners. Yeah. So you were you on? So back in the day, have you basically been on razors since the beginning, or what did that look like?
When I first started was right when TRS released the like access and the detail
Yeah.
skates,
Yeah. Yeah.
and those ones are pretty revolutionary. So I skated those for the first few years. I had bounced between a few different pairs. I tried USDs for a while. Razors are the ones that I felt the most comfortable with, and there was might have been coincidental, but when I switched over to razors, primarily from those TRS roller blades early on, top sides became instantly a lot easier for me. And maybe it's a flex with the skate. Maybe it was just the progression cycle that I was going through at that time in my life. But I've always been most comfortable with SLs in particular, like the Genesis boot, maybe just slightly under there. But I've tried pretty much every brand of skate at this point, and they all have their strengths and weaknesses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I still haven't I skated Genesis quite a bit back in the day, but I still haven't skated shifts or SLs. But I don't know. In your impression, are they pretty similar performance in a way or feeling?
Yeah, I'd say they're all relatively comparable. I think the
Yeah.
SL is a more natural and comfortable feeling skate, very similar to the Genesis. The
Mm-hmm.
shifts I don't like quite as much, but I do love the concept of like the removability and
Mm-hmm.
how easy they are to customize. But SL is probably the most comfortable skate for me.
Gotcha. Cool. James says, Butch, do you work on one trick till you can do it on pretty much everything, or what's your process?
It's a good question. Certain tricks I feel like I'm pretty comfortable on most obstacles. I mean, we all have our bag of safety tricks. Other tricks are like I laser focus in on something when I'm at a skate park or at a street spot, and usually I won't walk away from that trick until I have it. So I don't know if there's really a set process. I mean, when you've been skating this long and you've kind of exhausted all the different small variations, then the more technical stuff is where a lot of that time is spent. The switch ups you've never tried or even considered, some of the switch tricks, some of the weird negative variations. For example, last year over the summer, I made it a point to learn alley-oop negative machios. Not something that I would ever see myself doing. I'm not really a negative type of skater, but it was one of those things where you just want to challenge yourself, and that's really what blading is about. Is you set those little tasks for yourself, and then you get that gratification from succeeding. So I don't know. I'm looking for different ways to progress, I guess.
Yeah. I'm kind of lazy. Recently, I've just been like, cool. Here's a switch that Eugen did, or here's a trick that so and so did. I'm gonna go see if I can do it. So it's not really testing my creative ability to come up with my own tricks. But it's kind of fun. It's a fun little challenge, and it makes for, I think, decent content sometimes. But I don't know.
That's a good way to get out of your comfort zone too. If you're seeing tricks that are just mind exploding, you're like, I need to try that one. Especially if it's something you wouldn't have thought of on your own.
Right?
There's still
Totally.
a creative element to that.
Sure. It's just, yeah, it is cool to see because we all have, like, skating is so infinitely diverse, and like you just said, true fish is like one of the safest tricks for you, which is like, what, bro? Like, so when people ask for like, oh, well, hey, like, what skates should I get, or what tricks should I learn, or this and that, and like, it's hard to give any one set of advice necessarily that I find.
Yeah, it's all subjective to the individual and what kind of experience you have and what you're comfortable with. There are tricks that are easy for a lot of people that don't make a whole lot of sense to me. Um, Back Savannas. Like I
Hmm.
can do the 271, what I would call a Savannah from the old days, versus the true spin Savannah or the back Savannah. Again, we won't get into that debate, but that one is not very comfortable for me. I can do them, but there's an element of danger with wheel bite that nobody else seems to experience except me. Struggle
What
is
what
real.
what frames are you on?
I'm on the Kaiser slimline frames,
So
riding flat.
on
Yeah,
what wheels?
so big eulogies. I'm on the Jeff Delness wheels right
Sick,
now.
sick, sick. So actually, just kind of target of opportunity here. So Jeff Dolness actually just recently went back from Trigger to USD. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I think I heard about that.
Yeah, I was there at Bitter Cold, and I guess his trigger skate like ripped apart, and he was really angry about it. Like it literally fell apart, I guess. And like less than a week later, he announced that he's going back to USD again, or not. He didn't announce he's going back to USD, but I guess maybe he did actually. Either
I think
way,
he had a social media post about it, like thanking Trigger or something. That's what I recall seeing. I might be mistaken.
right. What's your opinion on just trigger skates in general?
That's one of the skates I've never tried, so I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. I'd love to. It's just one of the more rare elusive skates in my inner circle of skaters. So I haven't had the opportunity to be like, hey, can I try your skates real quick? Um, I'd love to. I'm always down to try different skates and see how they stack up.
Yeah. So if we ignore the skate performance, if we just look at like the branding, because to your point, like they are very rare. I've seen like maybe one person ever skate them out in the wild. So if we just look at as a skate company, like what's your opinion on Trigger from that perspective?
I honestly don't know enough about like their management, their marketing. So I'm gonna reserve comment on that. I don't want to say anything that's overly glamorous if it's not true, or anything that's I don't know, negative if that's not earned or deserved either.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I totally
So I
agree. And
literally know very little about them besides seeing them in some of the marketing from skaters skating them.
right, absolutely. And I think that's part of almost what I'm getting at is because I haven't met very many people that are super familiar, or there's just there. I feel like a lot of skaters are in the dark, or there's just a lot of it's just not clear. Anyway,
Like
we'll move on.
other skate companies, even if it's a skate that I haven't extensively skated or I haven't skated that particular model, at least I have some experience like borrowing a pair of skates that are similar or from the same brand, or watching like more edits or pro team videos or being more aware of the news, but that one, I don't have a lot to base it off of.
Yeah, same. Are you working on what was it? Anton asks, are you working on any tricks right now that you're trying to dial in?
Yeah, I was actually talking to my buddy Dave Walsh when he was out at the garage yesterday at the headquarters. And I was like, you know what, Dave, you are so consistent at 360 soul. And I do it really well spinning away from the obstacle, which is also debatable. But in my mind, hard spin is anything away, 360 is anything towards. But that one has always been a little bit more difficult for me. I can do them sometimes, but not consistently. Never done that direction on a handrail, done the other way. And I'm like, I'm coming for you, Dave. I'm gonna get these 360 souls dialed in this summer. So I think that one's on the agenda. Also, I can't fast slide to save my life, so I think we're gonna work on front side fast slides this year.
Nice, man. Yeah, I found with fast slides, can you just do like top sole on like say like a P rail or something? Can you just do like top sole and then budget or whatever into a fast slide and hold it, or is it the problem with jumping onto the fast slide?
I think it's probably more of a problem of jumping onto it because there have been times in my past where, like at a skate park, if there's a little kicker into a ledge, like a round coping ledge, I could do it, but not very long. And even on P rails, if they're low enough and I can step into it, a lot easier to do.
Yeah,
So
no
I think
doubt.
part of it is the jump and the lock.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. It's kind of spooky. It's definitely one of the spookier ones. Nick says, have you tried intuition liners and with your SLs? So intuitions period and also with your SLs?
I don't know if I have. Man, like I said, liners are one of the things that I don't like to change at all. And so after coming from my previous pair that were with me for the 13 years, and I made the switch, rain was what I switched to, and haven't really tried anything else. It's just so uncomfortable for me to use a different pair of liners. So I don't think so. I don't think I've even like put my foot into somebody else's liners with the exception of when I like borrow a pair of skates briefly.
I got you. Any opinions on the standard skate, law standard skate?
I don't know enough about that yet either. Like I've seen some pictures of it. Um, I think there were some from Blade Cup that were posted recently. And
Yeah,
I'm really excited for him. Like he's a great guy and he's been doing a lot of cool things for the sport. So I
yeah,
hope it's successful. I guess I can say that.
yeah, no doubt. Brandon Drummond posted up some of these. I have an overlay right now, but yeah. So it's interesting. I'm really excited. I think it's really cool that he's doing that. I think he's in a great place to be able to create something really special. So pretty cool. Sean
They're
says,
giving
"What are
me,
you?" Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say they're giving me almost like early iteration NIM vibes as I'm looking at them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sean, I think this is kind of like a funny question. Maybe I don't know, but I know Sean is a big Grawl fan. Do you have any opinions on what do you think about the Grawls?
All right. What is a grawl?
Oh, the Rossi's Grawl.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah.
going back. We're going back.
We are going back.
Uh those were the ones that were all multicolored too, right? That was that
Well,
or was that the
they had
cooties?
one model that was like a zipper. They had like a zipper closure. Some were zippered and some weren't. Rossi's.
I'm trying to remember which one was the grawl and which one was the cootie.
Oh, because you said you started. Oops, you said you started right around when the TRSs came out, right?
Yeah.
Um,
2001 is when I started.
so I think there's probably a delay on the screen that you have, but I have the Grawls pulled up on the Blake Dennis had a Pro Grawl. There was a zipper version and a lace version.
Yeah, the one right to the left of your mouse right now, the red one,
Yeah,
was that the grawl or was that the cootie?
Grawl.
Black and yeah. So they came out in I think a bunch of different colors like that, and that was one of the things that I remember seeing like in Roller Warehouse catalogs was just the like skate colors weren't really that prevalent
Yeah,
back
yeah.
then, but not for me.
Yeah, I think it's like one of those only a mother could love kind of thing. Like I think it has a special place in some people's hearts. But have you skated Mesmers?
Have not skated Mesmers. That's another skate I'd be interested in trying. I
Yeah,
have seen a pair in person one time, and I was told that they were great.
yeah. I'm excited. I tried out the Bolinos and I loved how they skated, but they didn't quite fit my feet. I don't know if it was the liner. Sounds like they on the V2 they made some changes to the liner and I guess to like the toe box too is what I've heard.
Is that where the
Um,
where the issue was in the toe box, or was it like a width?
It was more of a width thing, but I feel like they adjusted the liner, and it seemed like I was having the same issue like some other people were having. So I'm not totally sure, but I'm interested to try them out again because I love the way they performed. It's just the fit was a little bit off.
Yeah, that's
Um,
something I think a lot of people struggle with skates too, is just finding the one that fits their foot the right way. Where
to-
for me anyway, I've never really had that issue, and I feel like after the 20 plus years of blading, my feet are just malleable and they'll just like contort their way into the skates. And maybe there's some other OGs out there that have been doing it a long time and have like the permanent hammer toe where all your toes just kind of like curl over because you've been pushing them into small skates that are too small for the feet.
James says, Butch, how much gear do you have? For example, I'm way bad at skating and have tons of gear, but I feel like you just might not be the type of person to hoard gear.
I don't actually hoard a lot of gear. I usually keep my primary set of skates and often two sets of backup skates, one that's ready to go that already has frames and wheels on it in case there's some emergency situation where I don't have time to swap out parts or make the fix on the spot. And then like one really beat up pair of skates that maybe don't have frames or the buckles are broken that I can like Frankenstein parts from. But everything else I usually just give away to kids at local skate parks and try to get people interested in blading. That's been my strategy.
Mm.
Occasionally, I'll sell some of the extra, like, used gear, but go out of my way to try to make sure those people that are interested in it and are legitimately, like, on rec skates or something, be like, "Hey, want a pair of blades?"
I love it, man. Yeah, it's fantastic. I love what Kevin Little's doing with the donate and skate deal too, and
That's another event I need to make it out to, is I need to get out to Texas sometime to blade with that guy.
yeah, no doubt. What skater kind of would you say influenced your skating the most over the years?
That's a tough question. In terms of, like, childhood icon, like, the person that I always thought of, like, the skate celebrity, probably Brian Aragon. I don't think that he would probably influenced my skating the most because I wouldn't say that my skating is anywhere near that. But as far as like some of the spin tricks and my interest in doing that type of skating, stunt style skating, park skating, um, the most influential would probably be like local skaters that I grew up with that were significantly better than me, that had the open door inviting people to sessions. Like when I think back, those are probably the ones that defined my skating the most and I don't know, made the community inviting.
I hear you. I hear you. Totally. That makes perfect sense. And I hear you with the Aragon stuff. Like I can see. I've actually kind of thought that for a while. Like you're skating because you do a lot of like the really hard Aragon type of like Hurricane this or I can see some Aragon inspiration. I feel like that's so. I'm not surprised you said Aragon there.
I like spin tricks, and I'm the type of person when I lock into a trick, I like to just hold the trick instead of doing a bunch of really technical switch ups. And it's always boggled my mind the people that can dance 5 or 6 switch ups into a 16-foot P rail. I love it. I love watching it. It's just it doesn't compute for me. It's like spin in, lock in, maybe get one switch up in there, maybe two if you're really pushing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the one solid lock. That's kind of more my variety.
Yeah. I just recently self-diagnosed myself with ADHD and it is very, very, very painful for me to just hold one grind on a rail. I get bored. And I don't know if that's like a weird flex or something, but like I literally do like get bored. And I know it doesn't. Anyway, we'll move on. We'll move on. Are you going to the Iowa Ruckus again?
I'll be there. I'm excited for it. It was a great time last year. Highly recommend it to anybody that's able to get out there. It's a massive skate park, one of the biggest in the country, might be the biggest in the country. It was a good time.
Yeah, yeah. I'm unfortunately not going to be able to attend a lot of events this year because I am pinching all my pennies for Winter Clash. So that's the plan.
Well, if you're gonna make it out to an event, that's probably the one to go to, right?
Yeah, I got to check that box someday, man. Why not? Why not this next one? Anton says, "Weren't you just on Jan's podcast? Were you just on Jan's podcast? No.
Not this guy.
Oh,
Nope.
maybe mistaken then. Maybe mistaken. Okay, yeah, dude. Please let us know whenever you need to run. I think we might be getting close. Are we not? Are we good? Still good
Yeah,
on
like I
time?
said, it's not a hard timeline. I just
Okay.
have things to do, but I'll stick around for a bit yet.
Okay. Anti-orthodox. Throughout the learning process, how much have you felt confidence plays into being better at skating?
A lot. And I think that confidence is built in a number of different ways. One is just from the experience. One is from like learning how to fall over time, and that is almost an entirely separate skill in its own. But even when there's something that you're terrified of that you don't know if you can do that you've never done before, if you don't come in and like fully commit and have that confidence, you're just not going to do it. We've all been there, right?
Bro. It's so true. It's like if you that is like I think that's 99% of why people either fail at tricks or get hurt or whatever. Maybe not always, but it is like you're doing a half send. And if you just face the fear head on and go full commit, like you actually decrease your chances of getting wrecked. Has been kind of my experience.
And I think a lot of people too, like, misinterpret how to approach something like that, and they try to get themselves really amped up and hyped up and like in this really emotionally charged state for something that they're afraid of. And I think it's actually the opposite approach that's more conducive, is where you just get into that calm state and you're able to just flip that switch in your brain and just turn it off and let muscle memory carry you through. And even like I said, if it's a trick you haven't done before, you've done similar things, you've built up to that point, unless you're coming in completely blind and inexperienced, which really isn't progression then, that's just reckless.
Agreed.
But you just gotta calm yourself and just let your body do what it does, and it will figure it out.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic point. I think as long as you spend the time and put in the effort to build a strong foundation and create that muscle memory in like a more controlled setting, then you have that strong foundation to fall back on and that muscle memory to then progress forward into new things. Tree asks a very simple one-word question. Mooks, question mark. What's your thoughts on Mooks?
When they first came out, I bought a pair, and, I tried them out. It felt like cheating when I went ledge skating. Um, I've always liked riding flat. That's my thing, like, flat frames, especially since I do more skate park riding than street skating, and I do a lot of air tricks, and, people that have, like, come to skate parks with me, I like doing flips and big spins and box jumps, and you just can't quite get the same leverage that you would riding freestyle or even anti-rocker. So, they weren't for me. They were kinda fun, though, just to mess around with,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
could see why they're appealing to people, or any freestyle frame for that matter.
Yeah, I think they are fun. I have a Flebo, 3D printed me some. They're called Fuchs, so it's a play on Flebo and Mook, but they're for the prime cores. They're just frame walls for the prime cores, but it is fun. Like you said, it's kind of like a fun, goofy, almost novel kind of thing.
I like the frames that are like a hybridization of both. Like, I think the Wish frames are a good concept, and they're playing off of the early ground control high-low frames, which
Mhm.
were my favorite pair of frames ever. You'd have like the 47s in the middle slots, lower down, and then 57s or 58s on the outer slots, but they're all
Yeah,
touching.
yeah.
Get that maximized frame groove, but also the four wheels making contact.
Yeah, that sounds similar to the Master Blade. I'm not super familiar with the ones you're mentioning. Are you familiar with Master Blade frames?
I've seen them at some point or another.
Yeah, it sounds almost exactly like what you're saying. Massive H block. You're technically riding flat, but there's like 45s on the middle. I'm
And
put
they're
the
just dropped down a little bit, rocker down.
Yeah, I'm putting the image up on screen, so you might be able to see it here in a couple seconds. But they're super expensive. They're metal. They're metal. But they're very
Yeah.
interesting. They're very interesting. But I think it throttles what I found. I don't know if you saw them or not. Um, it seemed like they were this. I tested 9 flat frames all in the same day, which was a terrible idea. I don't recommend it. But they were the slowest of the 9 for sure. Which shouldn't be that surprising, I guess. They had like 47s on the middle. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, those are a pair that I'd really like to try.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the ground control high-low frames? They were like
No, let me look those.
2006. They originally came stock on the Shima 5s, the like all white skin Shimas that people loved.
Oh,
And
Hilo, HILO frames.
HILO, yeah.
Yeah. Let me see.
But what I loved about those is a similar concept to the ones you just showed. Um, but it really was, I think, a pretty progressive idea for the time period of rockering inner wheels down.
Right.
I don't know if the groove was quite as big as the pair you just showed, but these
Yeah,
were
it looks
great.
it looks comparable. I have it up on screen here. But yeah, that's interesting.
The
Anyway.
drawback was they didn't make many outside ground controls stock 47 millimeter wheel that worked perfectly for these frames. There weren't
Mm,
other wheel companies producing those. So once Ground Control stopped making those wheels, it became very difficult to ride those frames. I think Eulogy filled the void by making a Sphinx graphic with 47 millimeter wheels, and they were out of stock everywhere. I
I
was at
gotcha.
a Badger Blade Off competition in Wisconsin one year, and I desperately needed these wheels, and they're not even like an inline park or skate shop. But I went inside the skate shop, had a couple friends with me, and they had one set of rollerblading wheels, and they're the exact ones that I needed.
Oh, no way.
It's just meant to be.
Right, we're in a simulation.
Yeah.
Nick, what are your thoughts on any mushroom blading or the more creative skating? I guess Danny Beer style is also related.
Yeah, I'd throw Danny Beer into that category for sure. I love watching stuff like that. It's so out of the realm of normal or what I would do or what I would feel comfortable with. It's probably not going to influence my style of skating or like change me up to being more of a mushroom style blader. But anything that's creative and inspirational and takes the sport into a different direction, I wholeheartedly support. And like I said, it's particularly gratifying because it's something that I couldn't reproduce myself.
We are in the same rowboat, my friend. Like I enjoy watching it. I think it's cool. I think it's like inspirational. It's not like I think you mentioned like it's not necessarily going to directly impact your skating necessarily, but it's like, hey, have at it. Like this is neat. Someone out there is going to get inspired and it's going to progress the sport in different ways.
Well, even like things that are now pretty standard, toe rolls and cess slide variations out of grinds or into grinds. Even that is way beyond my skill set. I am not good at toe rolls. Cess slides, I can kind of do them, especially like Unity ones, which I think are slightly more cheater because you lock your knees into place and then, it does the work for you. But I love it. Like anything that opens the doors and expands the boundaries of skating, go for it.
Absolutely. You can only watch one skate video for the rest of your life.
Wow. Is that a life worth living? I don't know. In all seriousness, I guess I'd bring it back to where I began. And the first video that was gifted to me, the first like actual DVD I owned was Underestimated.
Mm.
That was the Denial Team video. What I love about that one is it's a really strong lineup of skaters. It's kind of my golden era growing up skating, so it has all the nostalgia for it. But also, it's a pretty long video. There's like 12 or so profiles in that video, and most of them are like really, really solid.
Dude, I think we might be the same person, Butch, because that was the first video that was the first skate video that I ever watched.
There's a
Um,
saying, about great minds.
yeah, dude. I remember very vividly. I was at high school and we were like in some like AV room or something, and someone brought the DVD and we watched it and they were all naming the tricks and like, oh, he just did a 360 soul to alley this and that. And I was like, bro, I'm actually never going to learn all these names. Like it's just never going to happen.
And
Uh,
here we are.
and here we are. Here we are doing live streams on Bitter Cold Showdown, getting a bunch of stuff wrong. So that's what I
Also,
that.
the nostalgia of it for me anyway is watching that video. At the time, like my street vocabulary was maybe like 3 grinds that I could do on handrails, and I'm watching these like 360s into grinds or Chris Farmer doing a multi-kink 450 back royale, and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
"How is this possible? Like, I can't even jump into a regular back royale on a handrail."
right. I
So give me
think
something to aspire to, I guess.
totally. I think almost everyone has that sort of story of like they're like skating and doing their thing, and then they see the first high level skater, and they're just like, I didn't know any of this was possible. We
Well, it
all
was
have
just
that.
a different era then too, because we didn't have social media. There wasn't like internet parts to watch. There were some like websites that would host individual clips in really low resolution. But if you wanted to see like actual skating, you either had to see it in person at a skate park, which fat chance of professional rollerbladers just randomly showing up at your local park, or you get a video. And for me, it was like that paradigm shift of seeing this amazing skating for the first time because, like I said, there were other skaters at the skate park, but they were all beginners like myself.
Mhm. Mhm. How do you think that social media has changed the landscape? Right, it used to be like you waited for or you waited for videos to come out in the mail and whatever, and now it's instant, short clips. How has that changed anything? Is it good, bad? What's your opinion?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's certainly a lot more saturation of skate content, which is a good thing and perhaps a bad thing. If you're a company or a professional, depending upon that revenue or that I don't know, that source of income from producing skate videos. I mean, how many people are buying DVDs now? Sure, we have some VOD parts that are for sale online, and that's a great opportunity. But I think it's also united the community a lot more because you have that instant access of information. You have all sorts of like cultural literacy and awareness from the skating community where we can reference some sort of major event or some sort of major trick and people know what we're talking about. Also has that virality where other people outside of skating get that exposure where, what's the chance of some random person stumbling upon rollerwarehouse.com and going, "Hey, I'm gonna buy this skate video," versus an algorithm on Instagram recommending them a clip of like Ilya doing a misty flip off of a wall or whatever he's doing, or Montre Livingston. So I think it's overall a net positive, but it certainly changed the culture and caused it to adapt new technologies and new ways of monetizing the sport so that it can still be self-sustaining.
Hmm. Um, who has the best style of all time?
Wow, that's also a tough question.
I'm sorry, I'm asking you these unfair, impossible questions, but I'm going to send them.
I mean, I guess you got to go with Frankie Morales, right? Like growing up playing aggressive inline, just choose a character. It's going to be Frankie. You're going to get those unbelievably stylish spins. And if you guys haven't watched any Frankie Morales parts, you need to. And if you have, you know what I'm talking about. But that's not fair to compare to because there are so many amazing styles out there.
It's true. It's true, man. That's a topic that comes up on here on stream pretty often, and it's always up like a heated debate. Like Julian Ball's up there, Frankie, Gonzo.
Ooh, yeah, Gonzo is also really good.
Yeah. So, but okay, okay. I promise I'll make the questions more fair. But who is the greatest rollerblader of all time?
Of all time.
The GOAT, the true GOAT of rollerblading.
I don't know if I can answer that.
I know it's unfair. I'm sorry.
I feel like if I were to answer this, I'd almost need like a Mount Rushmore, but maybe like a couple extra Mount Rushmores to background and backstop my Mount Rushmore. I'm leaning towards Chris Haffey at the moment just because of the impact he's had on the sport and how many different disciplines that he's really perfected. Where he's done the shows, he's been the ambassador for the sport. He's one of the biggest stuntsmen out there, one of the most consistent. Uh, for now, I'm gonna have to go with Chris Haffey.
Sure, sure. I don't think anyone's gonna knock you for that. I know a lot of people throw out Latimer for this one. That's a.
I think he's certainly the most like innovative and had the most impact on modern skating. So I could support a Latimer decision as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. I think for me, if Frankie, for me, Aragon, Haffey, like they're all in the discussion. I think someone who's ultra slept on. I say slept on. Maybe that's not the right term, but like I don't know. Like Ian McLeod, had such an incredible wide array of skill sets. It's insane. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, and he's done some tricks that I've never seen anybody else do ever. And I don't think I will ever again.
Right. And he could do them all switch. Dude, like he would, oh my gosh. I just, every time I watch another section of his, I'm just reminded, I'm like, bro, like maybe he might be the GOAT. Oh my
Well,
God.
and part of watching Ian McLeod too that a lot of mainstream audiences wouldn't understand is besides some of the like massive gaps that he's done and the occasional stunt that he throws in, the level of technicality that goes into some of his ledge tricks, into some of his switch ups, a non-skater just wouldn't be able to appreciate that
It's
in the
true.
same way that we can.
It's true. Damn, I was gonna ask something. Frankie. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think we're probably getting reasonably close. I know it's not a hard time, but I don't want to take up your whole morning here. For what it's worth, Clark threw it out there. So you have something like a 3-month window. Clark Kirkman threw out, hey, we need to have a content fest. I can't remember what he said, but basically have a bunch of the creators come out and create content and do blade battles and goof off. And I don't know. We should try to. This might be just like a over optimistic sort of thing thrown out there, but I think it'd be super fun.
It's certainly ambitious, but that's what blading is all about. You got to have ambition if you're going to go anywhere. You're going
Right.
to learn those new tricks if you're going to accomplish those goals that we set for ourselves. So I think we should do it.
I think so.
Put it on the calendar.
My friend used to say, "Shoot for the moon, And even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. I don't know
It's a
if that.
much more optimistic way of like my similar one. And whenever we've been filming, I've always had this mentality of like, all right, this trick is really tough. It's dangerous. We got the camera running. If I land it, it's going to be sick. And if I don't, it's going to be an awesome fall. So either way, we're getting a clip out of this.
Silver lining.
It's
Silver
not
lining.
landing among the stars, but maybe landing in the hospital. But either way, pretty much the same thing, right?
Totally worth it. Totally worth it. Well, Butch, dude, thank you so much for jumping on such short notice. Super fun to kind of jam with you a little bit here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for the invite. Let's definitely do another one of these sometime when I have a little more time to hang out, and we'll solve all of rollerblading's greatest issues and tackle the tough questions and maybe upset some people in the chat while we're at it.
Sounds like a plan. I am sure everyone watching this is familiar with Butch over at Roll Minnesota, but if you're not, for some reason, go check out all his information down in the description on this video below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.